Bereshit bara Elohim. 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 Each all of our hopes, all our dreams. Bereshit bara Elohim. Each one of us. B'Tselem Elohim. Bereshit bara Elohim. All our hopes and all our dreams. Bereshit bara Elohim. Each one of us. B'Tselem Elohim. Bereshit bara Elohim. Bereshit bara Elohim. Bereshit bara Elohim. All our hopes and all our dreams. Bereshit bara Elohim. Each one of us. B'Tselem Elohim. Bereshit bara Elohim. All our hopes and all our dreams. Bereshit bara Elohim. Each one of us. B'Tselem Elohim. Bereshit bara Elohim. Bereshit bara Elohim. When I reach out to you and you to me, we become B'Tselem Elohim. When we share our hopes and our dreams, each one of us B'Tselem Elohim. Each one of us B'Tselem Elohim. Each one of us B'Tselem Elohim.
Shabbat Shalom. Delighted to be with everybody. Want to gather together as a community at the end of another week. And this weekend, this Shabbat, we celebrate a Bat Mitzvah. And so we're delighted to be celebrating with the Larkin family. Samantha's being called to the Torah tomorrow morning. And so we welcome them, welcome Allison and Jacob and Isaac, along with Sam. And we're glad that you're here and maybe members of your family, extended circle of friends who may not have been with us before. I want to give a little bit of housekeeping by way of welcome. And that is to say that as you've been admitted into this room, it's because your name cleared customs, as it were. It's not just a random phone number, but if you want to modify how your name appears on your screen, whether or not we see your video, you can do that by clicking the dots, the horizontal dots in the upper corner of your window, and you can let us know you're the aunt or uncle or friend or however you want to identify yourself. You can take that, and it'll only change for the temporary time that you're with us in the service, then it'll revert back for the next time you log on to Zoom. And you can do that this evening. If you wish to, you'll need to do it again tomorrow morning if you join us for our service at which Sam will be called to the Torah. In addition, I want to just familiarize you with the chat function, which is at the bottom of the screen. Whatever view you're looking at, whether you're looking at just me as I speak, or whether you have the gallery so that you see many faces at the bottom, there are a few icons in the chat function. If you click on there, you'll be able to communicate with the rest of us, and we will be able to share with you. And Olivia Tucker, who is in Command Central at an undisclosed location, will put things into the chat and we'll monitor it. And in this way, we can share names of folks for whom we want to offer a prayer of healing or peace. Similarly, if you have a name to share for Kaddish, which you'd like to be read aloud at our service's conclusion, you can do that. And Olivia is very good at putting information about the page we're on. And if you want to download and open the prayer book and haven't done that yet, there'll be a link for that. And there'll be more information. You can communicate directly with the group or with any individual, including Olivia, directly if you wish to do that. So we invite you to do that as well. I want to give everyone a chance who's helping put this service together to say hello and to greet you and to wish you Shabbat Shalom as we begin to prepare for our candle lighting. Molly, you want to start us off?
Shabbat Shalom. Good to be together. I invite you to grab your candles and light candles along with Samantha and her family and get your Kiddush cups and your challah ready for later.
Shabbat Shalom, and a Shabbat Shalom to our friends watching on YouTube as well. Names shared in the Misha Barach and Yahrzeit Times. Hopefully I'll be able to get them into our Zoom room in time for them to be said. So feel free to put them there as well. Shabbat Shalom.
And Shabbat Shalom as you're, while you are gathering your candles and your cup for the Larkins to lead us in candle lighting, would you please join me on page 24 as we right now welcome the Shabbat angels with Shalom Aleichem. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon, Melech Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Boachem l'shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Melachei Elyon, Melech Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Barchuni l'shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Melech Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Tzedchem l'shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Melech Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu.
Sam, we go to you for our candle lighting.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lahadlik ner shel Shabbat.
Amen. And thank you.
We continue with Psalm 96, Shir Chadash, Sing a New Song unto God. The Shabbat angels, and we'd welcome Shabbat with light. Now we turn to page 20 and welcome the beauty of Shabbat with Lecha Dodi. And we'll be doing verses 1, 2, 5, 8, and 9. תפארת ולתהילה, לקראת שבת לכו ונלכה, כי מקור הברכה, מראש מקדם נסלך, סוף מעשה במחשבה תחילה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה.
As we return to our seats, so do I invite you to share greetings with one another. You can open up, or you can unmute yourselves for a few moments. We're going to do that advisedly, but if you want to share greetings, wishes, we invite you to do that. You can also put those thoughts in the chat, and you should know that we not only record this service, but that which is shared with everyone in the chat is also recorded in transcript, and so you can share good thoughts and greetings and information there. So we take a moment to greet each other, just as we have used Lecha Dodi to metaphorically greet the Shabbat, the Sabbath bride. And we prepare to continue with our service on page 22.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
John, it's to you.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone. This is the psalm, our psalm for Shabbat, and it's the indented portion of the page, Tzadikat Tamar. Tzadikat Tamar yifrach ke'eretz alvanon yizkeh Shetulim beved Adonai bechatzrot Eloheinu yafrichu seva dishenim varananim yiyu lahagid ki yashar Adonai tzuri v'lo avlatabo.
We make a transition from Kabbalat Shabbat into the evening service on page 26 with the Chatzi Kaddish. Yitgadol v'yitkadosh shemei Rabbah.
Amen.
Yalmad yivrach yirutei v'yamlich malchutei b'chayechon v'yomechon uv'chayei tachol beit Yisrael bagala bagala uv'izman kariv v'yimeru
Amen.
Yehi shmei Rabbah mevarach le'alam ulal me'al maya yitbarach yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpar v'yitramam v'yitaseh v'yitadar v'yitale v'yitalal shemei dekudesha
Barichu.
leila min kol birchata v'shirata tushmechata v'nechemata damiran v'alma v'yimeru Amen. We rise in body or in spirit on page 28 for the Baruch Hu, our call to worship. Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach.
Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Le'olam Va'ed.
On the top of page 31, praise to you, Adonai, our God, from whom the evening flows. Your wisdom sets the way on which time and season glide. Your breath guides the sail of the stars. Creator of the tide of time and light, you guide the current of day into night. As heavens span to infinity, you set its course for eternity. Praise to you, Adonai, our God, from whom the evening flows. Baruch atah Adonai, Ma'ariv, Aravim.
Ahavat olam et Yisrael Amcha avta Torah u'mitzvot לעולם ועד. ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם בארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אדוני אלוהיכם אמת.
And on page 39, we anticipate sharing together Micha Mocha. Standing on the parted shores of history, we still believe what we were taught before ever we stood at Sinai's foot, that wherever we go, it is eternally Egypt, that there is a better place, a promised land, and that the winding way to that promise passes through the wilderness. And we believe that there is no way to get from here to there except by joining hands, marching together.
מי כמוך האלים אדוני, מי כמוך נדר בקודש, נורא תהילות עושה פלא. מי כמוך האלים אדוני, מי כמוך נדר בקודש, נורא תהילות עושה פלא. Who is like you? Who is like you? Who is like you? Adonai. Who is like you? Who is like you? Who is like you? Adonai. מלכותך ראו בניך בוקע הים לפני משה ומרים, זה אלי אנו ואמרו אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. Who is like you? Adonai. Who is like you? Who is like you? Who is like you? Adonai. ונאמר כי פדה אדוני את יעקב, וגאלו מיד חזק ממנו. ברוך אתה אדוני גאל ישראל. On page 42, Hashkivenu, our people's nighttime prayer. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leshalom, v'hamidenu shomreinu lechaim. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leshalom, v'hamidenu shomreinu lechaim. Adonai Eloheinu leshalom b'amideinu shomreinu l'chaim.
On page 44, we do an Inves Shamru. V'shamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asod et ha-Shabbat l'doratam berid olam beni uvein b'nei Yisrael oti le'olam v'shamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat l'doratam berid olam ki sheshet yamim asa Adonai et ha-shamayim ve'et ha'aretz v'shamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat l'doratam berid olam uvayom hashvi'i Shabbat vayinafash v'shamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asod et ha-Shabbat l'doratam berid olam.
The tefillah is on page 46, begins with a meditation, and we'll do the first 3 blessings together, and after which we will take time for our own personal prayers. Once again, we rise in body or spirit. Adonai sifatai tiftach ufi yagid tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu ve'Elohei Abotenu ve'imotenu Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, ve'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, ve'Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, ve'Konei HaKol, ve'Zocher Chastei Avot ve'Imahot, ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם, למען שמו באהבה. מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם ועזרת שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיי הכל אתה רב להושיע, משיב הרוח ומוריד הגשם, מכלכל חיים בחסד, מחיי הכל ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר, מי כמוך בעל גבורות, ומי דומה לך, מלך ממית ומחיה, ומצמיח ישועה, ונאמן אתה לחיות הכל, ברוך אתה אדוני מחיי הכל. אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש, וקדושים בכל יום יהללוך סלה, ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. 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 Ki ata hu melech Adon lechol hashalom. Ki ata hu melech Adon lechol hashalom. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. V'tov be'einecha levarech et Amcha Yisrael b'chol עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. 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 Tasim Leolam. Tasim Leolam.
Thank you. So beautiful. We come now in our service to Misha Berach, a time when we set aside the opportunity for us to consider those among us and those for whom we have love and care, concern, those across our country and the world entire in need of healing, aware that their bodies are failing or their spirits are flagging in need of health and help, perhaps respite and peace. We have a list that we share this evening and invite you to contribute to it. If you have a name of someone whom you'd like to have us read aloud, we invite you to put that in the chat, in the Zoom chat or in the YouTube chat, and we'll add their name as well. We are aware, of course, that there are so many more than we can possibly enumerate or name. And so we consider now those whose names are upon our own lips. Nancy Berkowitz and Millard Balloon, Kate Brody, Olivia Burton, Georgia Davidson, David Dornberg, Peter and Tim Flokos, Barbara Hepner, Naum Kaplan, Lee Kramer and Miranda Larson, Carolyn McDowell and Robert Marcus, Kristen Woodmeyer, Millie Morey, Lev Podorovsky, Ruth Rubenstein, Pat Shore, Arnie Silverman, Dick Simon, Jackie Student, Kantor Moshe Taube, Shirley Tucker, Arlene Wolk. I'm going to collect those names that others have shared. Let me call up the chat, see where this begins. Give me Sandy Pinsker and Joan Gibney, Matthew David Berman, Stephen Woods, Joel Berg, Beatrice Shiftick, forgive me. Are there other names? I can't get to the YouTube right now. Olivia, are there names to share from there? So maybe we'll add them if we have them at the end of our blessing. The Misha Berach is found in the middle of page 253. Misha Berach avotenu mekor habracha leimotenu. May the source of strength, who blessed the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen.
sheberach imotenu mekor habracha lavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
Thank you, Don. Thank you. I want to share with you some thoughts that spring forth from these pages of Torah. We began last Shabbat, we celebrated Simchat Torah and began again our annual reading cycle. And so it is that tomorrow morning, Samantha will read from the first chapters of the book of Genesis, the first verses, and talk of some of the earliest stories that are contained therein. It's why this evening, Molly began with a beautiful song about B'Tselem Elohim, that we're all created in the divine image, and why the artwork and pieces of text that Olivia put on the screen for us to think about reference verse 27 in the first chapter of Genesis that speaks of the way in which human beings are created. In these earliest verses and chapters of Torah, we are introduced to a number of beautiful stories, each of which has a moral, and if not one, then many. The idea of an ordered creation suggests all kinds of things that follow from that as we go about our own lives. The fact that we are created as a capstone, human beings, after all the animals, and the sense of responsibility or best for last, or whatever it is that we might read into that story, but perhaps none is greater, the moral lessons that are to be derived from the book of Genesis, than the declaration, not once, but twice, that human beings have been created B'Tselem Elohim, in the image of God. Here's the verse. Oh, wait, my glasses, I always forget. Vivra Elohim et Adam B'Tselmo, B'Tselem Elohim bara oto, Zachar u'nekeva bara otam. And so God created the human being in the divine image. In the image of God were human beings in all of their variety, so created. So did God create them. The significance of this declaration is manifold. First, that we are created B'Tselem Elohim, in the image of God, which means, teaches Rabbi Yitz Greenberg, that every one of us is unique as God is unique. Not the same unique, but we have the quality of uniqueness, each and every one of us, created in our variety. And insofar as we are B'Tselem Elohim, in the image of God, we are each of us also of infinite and inestimable value. And that all of us are so created suggests that in addition to being of unique and infinite worth, each and every one of us is equal one to another. B'Tselem Elohim teaches that every human being on the planet and everyone who has ever been is unique, equal, and infinite in worth and value and dignity, unique and equal and of inestimable dignity and value and blessing. Now contrast this with the treatment our friend and the Second Lady of our Commonwealth, Giselle Barreto Fetterman, received earlier this week when she went out shopping for kiwis. She understood it was the last time or the late in the season to bring home kiwis to her family, and she ventured out without her traditional security detail, and there was confronted with a woman who did not recognize in Giselle the innate dignity and worth, the inestimable, unique and infinite and equal value that we all possess. And I've asked Olivia to put up in the chat, it may already be there, the link to the Washington Post story about this, from which I'll quote, as well as a link that was Rodef Shalom's official statement that we issued, and I understand will be running as a letter to the editor at some point this weekend in the Post Gazette. Here's the bit of the story of Giselle's experience. And Giselle Fetterman, I use the first name because we've come to know each other, and so has this congregation embraced her as she was to be and still is, even though we've not yet held the gala, our 2020 Pursuer of Peace awardee. She and For Good Pittsburgh and her enormous good works. And if you don't know about Giselle Fetterman, I encourage you to Google her and be impressed. The article, normally state troopers accompany Pennsylvania's second lady whenever she leaves the house. But on Sunday, when Giselle Barreto Fetterman realized it was her last chance to get golden kiwis on sale at her neighborhood grocery store, she decided to run out for a few minutes on her own. While she waited in line, she said a woman recognized her as the wife of Lieutenant Governor John Fetterman and began yelling insults at her, including racist slurs. She said, "That's the N-word that Fetterman married. You don't belong here. No one wants you here. You don't belong here," Fetterman, who was born in Brazil, said in an interview with the Washington Post. Upset and shaken, Fetterman managed to film the woman accosting her. She posted the video of the abuse to Twitter. She contacted later, I'm dropping down a bit, her security detail and apologized to them for venturing out on her own and sent in the license plate, and an investigation is pursuing. Fetterman said she is no stranger to abuse, especially because of her background as an undocumented immigrant. Just before turning 8 years old, Fetterman's family fled a violent neighborhood in Rio de Janeiro for New York City, where they lived undocumented for more than a decade. She said her experience Sunday was a reminder of how she often felt growing up. It was a really long time of really living in the shadows and being really scared of every knock at the door, she said, to then being at a place where I'm so grateful that I can vote and that I get called for jury duty and I can finally belong to this country that I love so much. Then having these moments where I completely feel unwelcome all over again and scared. I was just kind of frozen in that moment, Fetterman said. I was shaking, I was so nervous. A woman standing beside her asked if she was okay and offered to walk her to her car after she paid. Since the woman who had verbally attacked her was still shopping, she decided to just leave. But when she began backing out of her parking spot, the woman came toward her car, again spewing racial slurs. Fetterman grabbed her phone, recorded the woman pulling down her purple face mask and saying, "You're a N-word." It was shocking. It took me a long time to process it and was just really, really sad. I love, love, love this country, but we are so deeply divided. This behavior and this hatred is taught. If you know her, if she is your neighbor or relative, said Giselle Barreto Fetterman, please, please teach her love instead. And this incident is to say nothing yet of anything about the racially motivated injustices and assaults and violence and indeed murders that we have witnessed just in these recent months in our country, locally, nationally, which seem to give a lie to both the sacred statements in our nation's founding documents that suggest that we are all equal, as well as the 27th verse in the first chapter of Genesis, which first stated that we are unique in our individuality, that we are infinite in our dignity, and we are equal in our worth. So what to do? Let's return to the story of Giselle's experience, for in her response, I think, is one of our answers. Hatred is taught, she reminds us. Teach love instead. And she urges compassion on the other human being who vilified her. After all, like she, even our nemesis is worthy of the accord of human dignity, our compassion and kindness. For as the rabbis of the Talmud taught in answer to the question, who is wise? The wise individual is the one who can learn from every encounter and every experience, who learns from every individual, even those who may behave in a detestable way. There is what to learn from them too. And if we're wise, we recognize that even in the most uncomfortable or even grotesque and uncomfortable and inhumane of experiences, there is that which we can learn so that we can be better going forward. For every experience and encounter can teach us much. Can we not only learn the love of which Giselle Fetterman speaks, but too the lesson taught to us in the words B'Tselem Elohim, the words that teach us and which we can act out in the world, that all people, regardless of our differences, indeed, perhaps even because of them. We are unique and we are infinitely valuable, and each and every one of us is equal to one another. Selah. Amen.
Begin to bring our service to a close with Aleinu, which is found on page 282. This is the prayer that reminds us that it is on us, and we rise in body or in spirit. Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Page 287. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו
We come now to our Kaddish, the text for which is on page 294. We turn our thoughts to those who've been taken from our midst, but not our hearts in these most recent days, as well as those, the anniversary of whose passing we mark with yahrzeit. Once more, do I invite you, if you wish, to share a name in the chat to do so, and I will read it aloud. We remember now Keith Cox and Linda Dickerson, Patty Espinoza Demko, Carla Phillip, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, Earl Glasser, Claire G. Morris, Kenneth Phillips, Bessie Brody Santoro, Victoria Warren. We remember also Harold Byer, Jeanette Cantor, Abe Clateman, Edwin Cohen, Neil Feinberg, Rochelle Feldman, Edward Howard Flagel, Larry Gibson, Gladys Maharam, Corinne Pickus, Esther Saperstein, Janet Shear, Sally Schmerin, Harriet Schneiderman, Ann Sonis, Peter Thomas, Mac Urbach, Stephen Wertkin, I. Leroy Lee Yar, Sigmund Yar. Collect names from those you have shared in the chat. Forgive me. I don't see any additional names. We'll wait a little bit longer should anyone wish to share a name. Perhaps we'll include some at the conclusion of our sharing Kaddish on page 294. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shmei Rabbah.
Amen.
Alma divra chirute v'yamlich malchute. V'chayechon uvyomechon uv'chayedach Beit Yisrael. Ba'agala uv'zmankari v'imru.
Amen.
Amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah v'varach ve'olam almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shmei dekudsha richu. La'ela min kol berchata v'shirata pushbachata v'nechamata da'amiran bi'alma v'imru.
Amen.
Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya v'chaim aleinu v'kol Yisrael v'imru.
Amen.
Amen. Osei shalom b'mromav Uya say shalom aleinu, v'kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. May the one who creates harmony and hide in peace to us, to all Israel, to all the world. Let us say once more, Amen.
Oseh shalom b'mromav, uyaseh shalom
Shabbat Shalom. Olivia here. I'm going to share some announcements about our week to come. All the links and everything and far more information is found in your Shalomogram, which is the email that comes out Monday morning. And if you'd like to be receiving those and you're not currently receiving them, you can email me, tucker@rodefshalom.org, and we'll get you on the mailing list. Tomorrow morning, we continue with our Bat Mitzvah Samantha Larkin. Tomorrow morning, that's 10:30 a.m., not 7. You can wake up at 7 if you want to. We hope you do wake up a little early, say 9:15, for the first presentation by Rabbi Bert Schumann of Jewish life in interwar Europe. I've been gathering a lot of information and helping Rabbi Bert Schumann organize this together, and it's really excellent information. This is Paris. This is Lithuania. This is some really incredible history. You don't want to miss it. 2 weeks, this week, tomorrow morning, and then the following Saturday as well. The Women of Rodef Shalom are kicking off a Pride series, talking about innovations in LGBTQ senior living, and that's Monday evening at 7. And our Community Outreach and Social Action Committee is having our first major project, Share the Warm, gathering warm weather clothing to donate to Giselle Fetterman's project, The Free Store in Braddock. So more information on that in your Shalomogram about the drop-off and pickup opportunities. Our Jewish Pittsburgh History Series also starts this Tuesday night with Rich Breen sharing about Pittsburgh's early Jewish neighborhoods, starting with the Hill District. So this is 7 p.m. this Tuesday, and it's going to be on the third Tuesdays throughout the months, heading to May, I believe. We're covering rabbis and neighbors and architecture and social justice movements, some really exciting presenters with some really fascinating history. So we hope you'll be able to join. It's open for all. It's totally free. Tell your friends. Last 2 things. It's time to bring back the High Holiday prayer books. Drop them off inside the vestibule by November 1st. We really appreciate it. Best timing is 9:15 to 3 p.m. And you can talk to Rabbi Henry too, or about if you can't drop it off, you can talk pickup. And the last thing is just a reminder to vote. There's still time to register to vote till October 19th. It's not too late even to order a mail-in ballot. It's not too late to make a difference. So those are my announcements. I believe our president, Karen Breen, is going to share some more announcements.
Hi, thank you. Thanks. I wanted to just, on behalf of the Board of Trustees, wish the Larkin family and Samantha Larkin, of course, a hearty mazel tov. I know there'll be an official presentation tomorrow on the virtual Bima. I wanted to also mention that the board and the executive committee have been talking about ways as we move forward to very carefully, with an eye towards health and safety, to think about ways for congregants to be back into worship within our amazing temple. While some of us were ushering for the Yizkor services, we heard from many how moving it was to be back in the sanctuary. We recognize how difficult it is to not be in a place together, but at the same time, we're balancing that against the what's most important, which is to keep you all healthy. And so if there are other ways that you want to make sure we reach out, be together, please let us know. In the meantime, Shabbat Shalom and be well.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Karen. I want to begin to bring our service to its conclusion. And so we go back to, forgive me, we go back to our Bat Mitzvah. And so Sam and family, to you for our Kiddush and Hamotzi. Kiddush is found in our prayer books on page 5. Hamotzi, blessing over bread, on 302. Sam?
Yeah. Okay. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah.
Sorry.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu b'shabbat kodsho be'ahava u'ratzon ihilanu Zikaron lema'aseh Bereshit. Kivu Yom Tehillah lemikraye kodesh. Zeher Lisiyah Mitzrayim. Kivanu Baharta Beotanu Kidasha Mikol Ha'amim Veshabbat Kodecha Ba'ava U'bransam Imhaltanu Baruch atah Adonai Mekadesh HaShabbat.
Amen. L'chaim. Take a sip. And tell us something about that Kiddush Cup and candlesticks. Go ahead. First, take your sip. Go ahead. Providence. Go ahead.
These are candlesticks and a Kiddush Cup that Nana and Papa brought back from their trip to Israel a couple of years ago. So thank you, Nana and Papa.
Great. Good. And now, what we've all been waiting for is dinner, of course, right? So we want a motzi, the blessing over challah. Will you lead us in?
3 out of 2.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem haaretz.
Amen. Perfect. Good bone, healthy appetite to all. Take a big handful. Call Isaac in. It's time for dinner.
Isaac.
Shalom, everybody. You can unmute, visit, exchange greetings. It's our own Shabbat.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone.